Who are we really? We are God personified. Within our DNA, within our cellular structure, it has God force, it has intelligence, it has divine intelligence. So we are God.
Today I'm joined by Julie Poole. She is a personal development coach, law of attraction teacher, best-selling author, and intuitive channeler. And today we're not just going to talk about the cognitive, heady stuff. We're going to talk about some more spiritual principles, principles of healing, principles of love, principles of relationships, perhaps.
Other people are lovable, but I'm not. Other people deserve, but I don't, because I'm not perfect, because I've had some traumas. The biggest challenge is self-judgment, and it's about worth and deservability.
Julie's become a prominent figure in the field of mind, body, and healing through energy, so specifically using energy healing, and is recognized for doing this across international platforms.
I'm not going to fix you at all. That is not my job. And that would be disempowering you to fix yourself. I can hold your hand. I can support you. I can give you some tools and some tricks that you can then use yourself to take that forward.
She uses many different tools and techniques, assisted and inspired many people to transform their lives. And as I said, today we want to go deep. We want to have a conversation about all of the above.
If my life isn't working, and my health isn't working, and my happiness is done a runner, and I don't know where it is, then this is the time to step into.
Greetings and welcome to the Dr. Espen podcast. I'm your host, Espen. Today I'm joined by Julie Poole. She is joining us from the UK and she is a personal development coach, law of attraction teacher, best-selling author, and intuitive channeler. And this is where I feel the conversation gets interesting, because today we're not just going to talk about the cognitive, heady stuff. We're going to talk about some more spiritual principles, principles of healing, principles of love, principles of relationships, perhaps, and we'll see where the conversation goes. Julie's become a prominent figure in the field of mind, body, and healing through energy, so specifically using energy healing, and is recognized for doing this across international platforms. She uses many different tools and techniques. Hypnotherapist for 2 decades, I think you were. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, assisted and inspired many people to transform their lives. And as I said, today we want to go deep. We want to have a conversation about all of the above. So very special welcome to the show. Julie, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's lovely to be here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I want to get straight to the first question. You talk a lot about self-love, as a gateway to healing. What's the hardest truth about self-love that people often resist?
Instinctively, I feel that it's about worth and deservability. Is that other people are lovable, but I'm not. Other people deserve, but I don't, because I'm not perfect, because I've had some traumas, because I've had some challenges, because I've made mistakes, because I've got it wrong. So the biggest challenge is self-judgment and this harshness that we tend to have as we review our life and our lessons and our experiences, that we're so hard on ourselves. But generally, we're absolutely wonderful with other people. We're so compassionate and understanding and tolerant and forgiving of other people. But we're just so hard on ourselves. And that's then the biggest barrier to self-love. Until you can start to see your magnificence, your worth, your deservability, and your power, then things transform. But when we're in this I'm not good enough, we're not seeing our power. And so we tend to be in victim mode. We feel helpless and hopeless, and then we get very lost, because that is lost, because who we truly are is power, is light, is love, is magnificent, is creator and creative ability. That's who we truly are. So when we kind of go into this lack of self-love, then there's a lack of power, a lack of truth, there's a lack of awareness, there's a lack of authenticity, because the real you is fantastic. But if we can't see it, then there's a kind of false narrative of there's this sort of imperfect me that's not very good, and then there is the real you that's amazing, and there's a clash between the two. And whether we're looking at psychology and counseling and the scientific part of behavioralism, or whether we're looking at it from a spiritual lens, they both say the same thing. You've got to know your worth. You've got to know who you are. You've got to love yourself and forgive yourself. And then realize when you push through that, there's nothing to forgive. You were always doing the best that you could with the tools that you had at the time, with the experiences that you had. And we learn and we grow, and hopefully we get a little bit better and a little bit stronger and a little bit more aware. But also is to realize it's not a linear line. It doesn't go always forward. It's one step forward, two steps back. It's a lump and a bump in the road, and you think, I've gone back to the beginning, but you never have, because some of that growth will come with you. And then the next time it won't be one step forward, it'll be 10. So you catch up. You are where you're meant to be at any one given time. And that's another thing that we have is this impatience. I'm not there yet. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? I'm not there yet. It's like you are exactly where you're meant to be right now.
This is, I think, much deeper than what people can realize. So right now, if you're listening, watching, you might be going, yeah, I've got a little bit of that, or it's not that bad, or yeah, that's really big for me, or anything in between. But I honestly think that this is really the unspoken truth of so much of the personal development world. People sometimes ask me, what is the secret to healing? It's self-love. How can you love others and things around you if you don't really appreciate who and what you are? So what are your thoughts in regards to your decades of experience in this field when it comes to the imprint period? How much of this comes from childhood when our parents said, don't inflate yourself, tall poppy syndrome, and whatever else that were imparted upon us? And how do we break free? Let's say that we realize now, yeah, I've got, not necessarily an inferiority complex, but there are aspects of me where I haven't forgiven myself. I'm still experiencing guilt. I'm still experiencing shame, lack of self-worth. Where does one start?
Well, you're absolutely right. It starts with childhood. It starts with what we observe. We learn through observation. We learn through example of what we see around us from other people. And, the first 7 years is when the child is forming their belief system. So we know this from behavioral, child development. But it's also when we kind of move a little bit into more of slightly spiritual is the law of attraction, which isn't necessarily spiritual. It's quantum stuff. It's all about you attract to you a mirror of what you resonate on in terms of your own vibration. So if you combine the two then of what I've seen and what I've heard, and we will hear, and I heard it a lot, if don't be conceited, don't show off. A child, if they win a race, they will jump up and down and want a medal, and I'm so clever and I'm so brilliant. And then they will be told tonight, now don't show off now. Think about the other children who didn't win, calm yourself down. That's spoiled, or that's, as we get older, it's kind of, oh, you're up your own backside. It's all of this reduce, 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 rather than revere, allow, applaud, celebrate. So, we heard it all of us growing up, that's conceited, that's showing off, rather than I'm so proud of you, that was amazing, you are full of potential, you are limitless, you can be and do anything. Most of us didn't hear that. This has been a new narrative really in the last 20, 30 years. It's getting stronger. We can see the improvement in our parenting, that it's not about instilling fear in our children and reducing, that it's about encouraging the light that's already within them. Because the thing is, we're born with incredible confidence. You look at any 2-year-old child on the planet, in any culture, in any creed, in any socioeconomic sort of setting, they all exactly the same. They think they can be and do anything. They think they're magnificent little creatures, and they are. And then it's what they see and are exposed to that starts to temper and tamper it down. Tamper it down. Let's just calm down, calm down. And I certainly heard that a lot. If I was really giggly or excited or, all bubbly, I was constantly told to calm down. You're showing off now. Calm yourself down. So we're kind of pushed and squashed. And many of us have had this. And then when you add to it that a lot of people will also be exposed to trauma, bullying, fear, exposure to violence, exposure to all sorts of unpleasantness, and then our fear radar starts to kick in. And that's part of the biology, that's part of our survival instincts. So it's kind of combines in. But then when we kind of move it into the law of attraction side of it, in other words, I create what I am. If I believe that I'm not safe and the world isn't safe and I'm not good enough, then I'm going to attract experiences and people into my world that are going to reflect that back to me, which then reinforces that belief even more. So science will call this, there's actually a term for it that's called re-victimization. So why is it? And the science will show, the studies will show somebody who's been through one particular trauma is far more likely to experience the same trauma, whether it be sexual abuse or whether it being robbed, whether it's being in an accident, because the belief system is I'm not safe, I'm going to have another accident. So guess what? You create another accident. And so it's sort of looking at both of those and saying, right, okay, if we've got the awareness of that, awareness is key, awareness is knowledge, and knowledge is power. What can I do with that? So if I am the common denominator of I'm experiencing the reflection of what I believe, and I don't like that reflection, it's not nice, it's not working for me, then what can I do to change it? So this is where we take our power and our responsibility. And that's the hardest bit, because we've been taught and trained to put our power outside of ourselves. So somebody else will fix you. The government will fix it. God will fix it. Go to counseling. They'll fix it. As a therapist for 20 odd years, the amount of people that said to me, you're going to fix me. And I'd say, oh, no, no, no. I'm not going to fix you at all. That is not my job. And that would be disempowering you to fix yourself. I can hold your hand. I can support you. I can give you some tools and some tricks that you can then use yourself to take that forward. And so it's putting the power back, and we're not used to that. And we're getting better at it, to say, stop looking for a pill to fix you and look at your life and look at your circumstances and look at this and look at that. And so that's what we're moving into, and it's been expanding over the last 20 odd years, and it's getting better and it's getting stronger and it's speeding up. So there are so many books out there now about the law of attraction, about empowerment, about healing. When I started in this in the 70s, as a young teenager, I was always into this. There weren't that many books and information around. And so, they started to come in more in the 80s and 90s. And Louise Hay came in with looking at all of the resonance and the emotional blocks, and the emotion code came in with Dr. Nelson Bradley. And I remember reading, back in the 90s, a book called The Journey by Brendan Days, which is all about, healing yourself from cancer. And then Conversations with God came along with Neil Donald Walsh, and that became my Bible. I'm like, this is the first thing that actually makes sense of anything that I've read. And so all of these were tools in my arsenal. And so then when I retrained and became a hypnotherapist in the early 2000s, I was pulling all of these things together into what I already knew. I've been doing healing since I was about 13, but I didn't have the psychological awareness at the time. But I spent 15 years, my first career, working with vulnerable people experiencing homelessness, women's refuges, domestic violence, drug and alcohol. I worked with a lot of people who were fairly lost. So by the time I came into my late 30s and early 40s, I had a little bit more awareness of life around me. And then I retrained as a hypnotherapist and brought that knowledge in of the subconscious and the way the mind works. And then 10 years on from that, I took myself into university at the age of 50 to go and study psychology and sociology because I wanted to know more. And it was interesting coming at it from a spiritual perspective, because I've been a spiritual teacher for a long time, okay, how am I going to feel looking at this on the science side of it as opposed to the spiritual side of it? I expected a lot of clashes and a lot of confrontations within my own belief system about which do I believe. But I actually found that they more or less, most of them dovetailed into each other. And I thought that was pretty beautiful. I really did. And then sort of moving more into the law of attraction. And that was so much more empowering to say, okay, well, if I've created this, which is a bitter pill to kind of swallow. What, this was my fault. No, it's not about fault, but it is about responsibility. If this is my resonance, if this is my belief system, I'm going to keep repeating this. And I did personally. I had not a very good childhood and not a very good start. There was a lot of trauma and drama and violence and nastiness. And I had appalling self-worth. It was on the floor. It was a -10, you know? And so I had to relearn, and we want to use that word relearn, how to love myself, because we're born loving ourselves, right? It isn't something we have to learn. It's something we forget, and then we need to remember. And so it took me a long time to really repair that broken psyche, that broken self-love, that broken self-worth. And life transformed more and more as I did for me. And then I brought that knowledge into, right, this works, this doesn't. We'll use these bits, we'll leave those bits, and pull them into being able to help and empower others. And it's beautiful watching the way things are evolving, and, you know, the amount of coaches and life coaches and energy workers, because predominantly it comes down to energy, because your thoughts are energy, your biology is energy, your heart is energy. So let's heal the energy. And in so doing, we're healing the belief systems. But the biggest block is to be open, because beliefs are beliefs and they're quite challenging to change sometimes. And so, you know, it's being open to that, saying, show me how. I'm willing to change my way of thinking. And I'm willing to change the way I view the world and to start to take my power and believe that I have any.
I love that. And the balance between this amazing power that we have, this innate intelligence, this self-healing capability, these godlike powers, and acknowledging those and living in alignment with those and expressing ourselves fully without apology. And then on the other side, you see either, as you mentioned, suppressed, no, settle down, settle down, settle down. This happens from a young age. So it's like we become passive submissive, some. And others, within their lack of self-worth, become overactive dominant. And you can see they're boasting and there's like, I'm this and I'm walking like that. And, I have all these things. And you could see it's compensation for a lack of self-worth. So it's like, it's either this suppressed nature or this uh, like overactive dominance, but nonetheless in the middle there, that's that little child that doesn't feel like he or she is worth it. So can you clarify a bit more when you're talking about, uh, you know, because I say this all the time. I love the sentence. You just said something like, we keep looking outside of ourselves. We've been conditioned to look outside of ourselves for answers. So maybe you can start with breaking down, what's your understanding of who we are? Are we godlike, infused in temporary physical form? Who are we really, and what are we really capable of?
All right, beautiful question. Who are we really? We are God personified. So we are God within our DNA, within our cellular structure. You think, let's just look at the body for a minute. Biologically, you cut yourself, your skin will make new skin. You break a bone, your bone will make new bone. It's like, well, we know that, but we don't really think, what does that mean? It means that our body has creative ability. We lose millions of cells every day that die off and new cells are born. So our body is a creative healing machine. It's amazing. And it has God force. It has intelligence. It has divine intelligence within the DNA. And so that's the physical body. So then we say, okay, well, what about the chi, the energy, the life force? So that I would call the energetic body, the energy within the body. And so then we can look at Chinese medicine and talk about acupuncture, acupressure, where they visualize that within the body is an energy grid system, a little bit like loads of tributaries of energy running through the body. And where they meet is an energy grid, a meridian. And when the body is out of balance, that meridian gets blocked. Energy, chi, can't flow. So that part of the body starts to get sick. It starts to get unwell. And so Chinese medicine will say, well, let's unblock the meridians there and let the body flow the energy to it, and the body will heal itself. And so we're saying, right, that's the energy then, the life force and the physical force can absolutely heal itself. So why doesn't it then? Why do we have repeated illnesses? Why am I still sick 2 years after, when that particular part of my body generally would heal within 6 months? Why is that? And so many of the teachings for decades now have explained that there is trauma, there is either trauma energetically, or there is a blockage where the energy can't flow. And so, yes, new cells are born, but they're born inheriting the damage from the previous cells. And so that damage is kind of passed down to the next generation of cells and the next generation of cells and the next generation of cells. And so, okay, by then healing the trauma and resetting the energy by unblocking the blocks and resetting the flow, then the healing energy can start to kick back in. So your body and your energy is divine. Now, we take into account then the addition of our consciousness and our intelligence and our divinity within our intellect. And we're not talking about academia here, we're just talking about intellect. The conscious mind is incredible. And then we allow the subconscious, which is vast, much bigger, and the access to everything we have through the subconscious, which taps into the collective consciousness and the collective universal energies, we are divine. Now, you add into that the soul. Whoosh. Now, we add the soul in, and the body is the housing for the soul. It's the host. So the soul is approximately 8 times bigger than the physical body. All right. So I've written about this in my latest book, From Hoping to Having, the Formula to Spiritual Connection, really explaining the soul and what the soul is and what it's here to do and how we treat it and how we live with it and how we can connect through it and from it to all and everything. So the soul is a lot bigger than the body. What we would use the word, the aura that we see around the person, that's basically the outside of the soul. And the soul breathes a little bit like the lungs. It goes out, it goes in, depending on the energy frequency around it and within the body, because it's in the body and around the body. So what the body is feeling, the soul's going to feel. So when the body's off, the soul is off. And the soul has higher access to the divinity, and so can start to try and course correct you and say, okay, we're going the wrong way here. This isn't working. This marriage is sucking the life out of me. This job is killing me. This way of eating is destroying my health, and I'm not going to be here for my 70 years and 10 as planned kind of thing. And we need to sort this out. And so the soul talks to you through the language of intuition, through your gut feeling, through your inner knowing. The thing is, with the language of the soul, it's much quieter than the language of the mind or the body. So for us to be able to listen to what the soul is trying to tell us, we need to be quiet and we need to be still. And the problem that most of us have is that we're so busy on the merry-go-round of life that we haven't got time to step off, even for 2 seconds, to just say to the soul, right, I'm quiet, I'm shutting up, and I'm listening. What are you trying to tell me? And then when we can do that, life starts to transform, because the soul inner guidance will start leading us the right way. And it will help us, because they're all a team. I call it the 5 bodies: the mental body, the emotional body, the physical body, the energetic body, and the spiritual body. They're all a team. They are interdependent. They're independent, but they're interdependent on each other. And what one feels and experiences, the others will feel. If you're emotionally off, your physical body will be off, and you know that because your stomach will feel horrible and your eyes will start shedding water and tears. It's like, how is my emotions affecting my body like this? So we know it does, but equally so do our thoughts. Our thoughts lead to an emotion, which leads to the body. And so they all talk and feel. They are felt by each other. So we need to see ourselves as a whole, like a synergy. where the sum is greater than the individual parts, and say, okay, if one part is off, let's break it down then and say, what isn't working for me in my mental health, in my mental thoughts, in my belief systems? If I believe I'm not worthy, I need to work on that. And as I change those beliefs, gradually shifting them into I am worthy and I do deserve, then emotionally I will start to feel more settled, more safe, more secure, happier, more content. That has an impact on the physical body because cortisol lowers, adrenaline lowers, the body comes into balance. The chi energy can start to flow better, so the body starts feeling better. And in the middle of this is the soul kind of going, yay, fantastic, we're feeling better. All right, so that's who we truly are. Each part of those 5 are divine. Each part, every single part is divine. So when I talk about source energy or God, I'm not religious and I'm not a spiritualist. I am spiritually conscious. But each part of those holds a divinity and a divine intelligence that if we can see it, recognize it, revere it, and we start to realize that this soul of mine has been around for a very long time, and this soul is directly connected to the divine, is part of source, is imagine source as the sun and your soul as like a little candle that's been lit from the sun, that has the sun has divided itself into a million little candles, billions little candles, and that's each of us. And when we kind of are growing and evolving, we return to source with that light, with that fire, with that advancement and development and growth. And underneath all of it is love. That's what powers the whole thing. And so we're growing in love. And we think, okay, if we compare ourselves in our middle years or later years of how much tolerance and patience and care and support we've got compared with when we were 14 or 15, we would hopefully like to see that it's vastly improved. And so we've grown and we've expanded, and we continue to do that over multiple lifetimes, growing and expanding in our heart, in our care, in our awareness, until we've expanded to the point there is nothing left on this planet Gaia, this planet Earth, to help us grow in love anymore. We've reached a pinnacle, but that doesn't mean we stop growing. It just means we don't need to be on planet Earth to do it. And so that's a vast subject of going into that side of the spiritual side, but we bring it back to what does that mean for me in my day-to-day life? It means that if my life isn't working, and my health isn't working, and my happiness is done a runner, and I don't know where it is, then this is the time to step into, if I am divine, and I am creator, and I am powerful, I can change this. So what do I need to do to change it? So we come into self-awareness and say, right, that thing that my mother said to me 35 years ago that still hurts today, it's still hurting because it's still active, it's triggered. And so I keep experiencing experiences that keep triggering that. And it's like poking the bear, poking the wound. And so it's not healing. So what am I trying to do? Generally on the wound, we'll put a plaster over it, but it's infected, it's still bleeding, and it gets poked and it'll bleed again. So what we need to do is actually take the plaster off, open it up. It takes a bit of courage, it takes a bit of determination, and it takes a lot of self-love to say, I'm opening up this wound and I'm clearing it out. And that might mean I need a good cry, I need to talk about it, or I need to have a conversation, or I need to get some help about it from somebody else, like a therapist. But I am going to tackle it and I'm going to heal it. And then I'm going to feel better. And so then I do. And then it heals, and it might leave a little scar, but we don't need the plaster and we don't need to put any window dressing on it. It's like, okay, we kind of get to the end of our life with a fair few battle scars, but we've dealt with them and we've grown from them, because there's always a choice. And that's the bit that people miss. They feel helpless and powerless. They've lost their choice. And it's hard to remind people there is always a choice, because they'll say, no, there's not. No, there's not. It's impossible. To help them see there's always a choice. So if I've been through my battles, I can come out with more compassion and awareness and tolerance and less judgment and more kindness, or I can come out hard, bitter and twisted. And we look around us and we see those people that are just that. They've shut down. They've closed down completely. They've closed their heart. They've closed their mind. And they are just in survival mode of get me through to the end of this life in one piece and then I'm out of here. And that's really sad. But they'll get another chance to come back and do it again different. And this time they'll probably experience exactly the same stuff that went down. But this time it's like, now, are you going to close that heart and be bitter and twisted? Or are you going to find a better way to say, how can I grow from this? What can I learn from this? And become more expanded in love. And that might take 10 lifetimes just on one lesson to get to that point. And that's all right. That's all right. This is where we say, I release the judgment of that. I'd love to do it in one. Yeah. Only one person has ever lived on this planet did it in one, and that was Jesus. And he wasn't here to learn anything. He was here to show us, to teach us, to show us what love is. So that's a different kettle of fish. But most of us are here a fair few times to get the hang of it. And then when we do, we celebrate. So our job, when we're in that light and that consciousness, and that does not include perfection because that doesn't exist, is to, if we figured out a way, share it, show it, help others to say, oh, I figured out this shortcut, because that's what coaching is. That's what therapy is. I can show you the shortcut from where you are to where you want to be. And if where you are is in lack or in pain or in restriction, let me show you the way to freedom and freedom from the pain and into your power. And so that's what we do, the best way that we can do it.
This is such an important conversation. And long story short, when I was in clinic and, we had medical doctors doing their amazing job, and then the chiropractors doing their amazing job, and then the psychologists doing their amazing job, and then the yoga teachers doing their great job, and the naturopaths taking care of the gut and doing a great job, we got wonderful results. But we would notice that things often came back. Now, often this was body pain, okay? Back pain, gut problems, skin problems, anything. And then we noticed a pattern between emotion and physical ailments. So we started building out a test curriculum, and we started looking at what are the primary emotions: fear, guilt, shame, grief, the list goes on. So we thought, great, okay, well, fear is an emotion, but moreover, it's a vibration or a bandwidth of vibration, a low one. Guilt, even worse. Shame, even lower. Grief, that's... And so the question was, let's say grief, will grief affect the physical body? Oh, gosh, your example before was just beautiful. Yeah, the emotions will change the body even through a tear. And we know psychosomatic illness. So what we did was we had two groups of people. One group who kept doing the same therapy and did no work on emotion. They did yoga, that helps with emotion, and nutrition, that helps with emotion, but no specific tailored approach. Then we had the other test group where we specifically had conversations, and we went to break through, as I say, from fear to fuel, from guilt to gratitude, from lack of self-worth to self-worth, and so on and so forth. And what we found was that each and every single patient needed less time with the medical doctor, less time with the chiropractor, less time with the naturopath, and so on. So we concluded that the primary emotion, which should be energy in motion, that it's not, it's subconsciously imprinted into the body, guilt, fear, shame, grief, the ones we talked about and more, they are the primary interference patterns. Now, there's many. And I love how you talked about the 5 bodies, so the mental body, the physical body, the emotional body, the energetic body, and of course the spiritual body. What we found is, because the language of emotion is not spoken, like how many people have learned about emotions? How many people talk about emotions around the dinner table? There's one hand come up in the room. But that was groundbreaking. So I love how you talk about this, because now, I retired from clinical practice, and for 9 years I've been traveling the world, and key pillar is emotion. And, the quality of our life equals the quality of our emotion. And we've never been taught anything about emotion. So if you're listening to this right now, go back and listen to it again. Pause it when you feel inspired, and maybe take a note. What is your primary emotion? What do you feel the majority of the time? And what do you want to be? And there's so much work that can be done here. This is coming to our awareness now. And I'm so excited that we're having these conversations and putting, as you said, the power back into the hands of the people. Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, and just talk a little bit about the emotion and the way that let's give you the answers of how to do that. So the way that I've worked, I found is very effective, is that understanding these five bodies are all linked and they're a partner, they're a team. Okay. So if we're wanting to know what is the emotion, right? Why have I got this pain? All right. What is the emotion underlying it? We can ask the body physically by simply we don't have to do a big deep meditation on this. We haven't got to sit in a lotus position doing the om. We can just go into a quiet space, ask the body, show me where the emotional pain is. It's often not where the physical pain is, all right? It's referred pain, deferred pain. It's in a different place. So we're basically visualizing the body, bring all the attention into the body from the head right down to the toes, and say to the body, thank you for showing me. I'm tapping into the divine intelligence within the body. Show me where the emotional pain is. And then you just sit quietly and allow your awareness to come into where your body will show you, and it will every single time. It might be a sudden pinch or a sudden tension or a sudden tightness, but it will be some kind of sign that your body will say it's there. And so let's say that that pain is in your lower leg. All right, but you've got a backache, okay? And so you just say, okay, ignore where the pain is located. My body is saying the emotional cause of this pain is right there in my leg. Right. So now I bring my attention to that part of my leg. Literally just imagine you've almost got like a telescope, right? Really going into a microscope, going into it. And at the same time, you're tapping into the emotional body and you're saying to that part of that leg, what is the emotion that's trapped here? Show me, tell me, explain to me. Now you're tapping into your mental body and the memories. Okay. Your memories are parts of your thoughts and your beliefs. So we're saying, right. And it's amazing. It happens over and over and over. All of a sudden, that person will say, well, I'm just remembering this time when I was 9 and I got kicked in the shin by my brother and it really frightened me. And why am I thinking about that? That's really weird. And it's like, no, that's not really weird. Your body's giving you the answers. So the next bit now, can you trust it? Can you say, okay, it wasn't about the physical pain of my brother kicking me in the shin when I was 9. It was that I felt afraid or bullied or attacked or whatever I was feeling. So what was I feeling? And you feel it, you acknowledge it, and then you allow it to go. It's an energy, and energy is free flowing, and it's only trapped when it isn't acknowledged. Once you acknowledge it, it's like, okay, you get it now, right? I can go. So we go, okay, I'm letting go. I'm 44 now. I don't need to worry about what my brother did to me when I was 9. I can let that emotion go. And you visualize that emotion with your thoughts. You're polarizing. This is your intention. This is your creative power. This is your command. And that's the word I want you to use. I am
Oh,
commanding this
yeah.
to go. I'm not asking, begging, pleading, do me a favor, maybe, if, wishing. None of that will work. You step into your command of your I am presence. This is your God force. And you step into it and you say, I am commanding the release of that emotion now from a place of love, not because I'm rejecting it or because I'm like, oh, quick, get rid of it. That won't work. It's acknowledging it from a loving space and then
Mm.
visualize the command of that emotion going. And then you can add to it if you want to. Just imagine that the cells all around that emotion now filling in with love and healing. And over the next few days or few weeks, never more than about 3 weeks, that area will completely reset and heal. And lo and behold, the back pain goes. All right. And so we can do that over and over and over. I used to have multiple sort of little things wrong with my body and some not so little things. Yeah. And I would do like most people did, go to the doctor, get a pill, get a referral, have a scan, always doing all of that. Now, I'm not suggesting you don't go to the doctor, always worth checking out these things first. But if the doctors can't help you and heal you, that is when you say, okay, now we've got a choice. I can give up and say, well, that's it for the rest of my life. This is what I've got to suffer with. Or we say, right, I'm taking my own power. And what am I going to do about it? So I'll give you an example. One of the larger things with me was that I suffered very badly with my monthly cycles from the time I was 12 right the way through until I was nearly 40. I had multiple surgeries, procedures. I had lots of in and out of hospital, lots of problems, lots of things. They tried everything. They got to the point where they said, there's nothing more that we can do other than a full hysterectomy. So I said, right, let's do it. Just get rid of it. I can't stand this pain anymore. Just take it out. And so in the UK at that time, and it's even worse now, it was about a 2-year waiting list to have that surgery. And as I come closer towards the top of the list, my instincts, my intuition is saying to me, you don't need this surgery, you can fix this. And so I spent a long time saying, no, I can't. Doctors can't fix it. It's not fixable. Because I believed the narrative that there was nothing that could be done. And
Uh-huh.
so when I meditated on it, my soul was coming through, my higher self was coming through saying, step into your God force. You can fix this. So I did. I went into the area, the location of where the pain was, which was in my womb. And I asked my body, what emotional disturbance am I holding in this area that is causing these repeated problems? And my memories came forward with multiple different circumstances and experiences, including 3 miscarriages, quite a lot of sexual abuse, and some physical violence in that area as well. And so I went into each of these traumas and I visualized that traumatic energy leaving my body from a place of love and power and empowerment, one at a time. And it took a few hours. There was a lot there. And I just visualized each of them leaving. And then I just felt my whole body and being saying, it is done. And I said, okay. I was exhausted and I slept. And about 3 days later, I had my first normal period of my entire life. And it was a huge shock. And a couple of days after that, the letter came through saying your surgery's next week. And I thought, oh my God, what do I do? What do I do? Because I've waited a long time, but I think this is fixed. So I went to my GP very nervously and said, I don't want you to lock me up or put me in a mental home, but I really think that I fixed this. I think that this was trauma. And I explained some of the traumas I've been through, and I explained that I sort of released it. And he said, I hold a lot of store in that because many of my patients with these problems have the full hysterectomy and are still having problems down there, and there's nothing left there. So he said, let's give it 6 months. We'll hold your place at the top of the waiting list and we'll see how you go. So he said, I'll write to the hospital. So you're not off the list. We'll hold that space. And I had 6 normal cycles over the next 6 months. So the surgery was cancelled and I never had to have it. And I've never had a problem since. So that's something quite extreme because this was major surgery, but it was caused by a lot of trauma. Now, not everybody's is caused by major trauma. So they'll say, oh, well, I didn't have those experiences, so that can't be my story. But it can be energetically coming in from people around you, things you've read, films you've watched, anything that's kind of created a seed within you. It can also be what you brought in from a past life that is time to clear in this life. So please know that everything is curable. Was it Dr. Michael Beckwith that said that in The Secret? Everything, there's nothing incurable. It just means curable from within.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, I agree. And, just a caveat for those of you who say, well, what about this or what about that? There are people who were born with limitations within the body. And that is their path in this lifetime. They're not meant to heal those issues. But we're talking about people who were healthy physically and became unhealthy. It's then looking at it and saying, what was going on for me? And we also have, I saw your story on your website, which I found absolutely fascinating and beautiful, that this was an experience, this massive accident that you have, this was an experience that turned your whole world upside down for you to truly know who you are and to step into your power to heal yourself. And through that, then to share that healing with others and become a healer for others. And that's what happens for many of us that are in this field. You know, I've retired from hypnotherapy now and trauma therapy. I spent 17 years specializing with PTSD and trauma and depression until I was fairly burnt out from it. And my whole being said, enough now, hand the baton over to somebody else. You've done your bit. So I now inspire and help and heal through my books and through my YouTube channel instead, but I don't do any therapy anymore. And when I was guided to write these From Hoping to Having series, it's like put all the knowledge into those, get it out there, you know, how to empower yourself, how to heal your life, how to change things, how to heal your finances. You know, you can do all of this. You know, most of us who struggle financially have very, very strong beliefs about money and, you know, very bad relationship with money. So guess what? Money doesn't show up, you know. So when we
Yep.
heal those beliefs and we heal the energy around them, money starts to show up. And it's the same in any area, whether it's love or health. You know, in 5 years ago, I was. My health was declining after the menopause. I'd put on a lot of weight and my energy was going down as my weight was going up and everything was off. And I kept going to the doctors, run bloods, and the bloods would come back in the normal range and nothing changed. And after 5 years, I just said, okay, let's just take my power back. I've given up with the doctors. They can't fix me. What do I need to do? And within a couple of days, I was led to videos on this, for me at the time, strange way of eating called keto and intermittent fasting. Didn't know anything about it, never heard about it. I started watching a lot of videos on the subject by people like Sten Egberg and Dr. Berg. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, this is contravenes everything that I've been taught. As a woman in my 60s, we grew up in the 70s and 80s where fat was the demon and you go low, you know, low calorie and all. It didn't work. And so to watch this and say, right, eat fat and, you know, slather the butter all over that steak. And I'm like, how can this be healthy? But oh my God, it was. And in 4 months, my health was back. All my symptoms were gone and my normal weight was back. And I've maintained it over the last 5 years. And so, you know, we don't know and we need to educate ourselves. And when we are going the wrong way and we ask our higher self to show us the right way, it will show us. You know, people said to me, how did you get onto this? And I said, I asked for a sign from the universe, from my inner self. Show me how I can fix this myself. And it was only when I stepped into my power I can fix this, right? With the help of the universe, with the help of source. You know, I don't think I stand alone. I've got a big team of love and support around me and incredible things I can tap into. But yeah, no more kind of Miss Helpless. You step into your power. I'm going to find a way to fix this. Show me. And then the answers will come. And this is the bit you need to open up to those answers and listen and trust. And that's the hardest bit because a lot of people say, well, that's just nonsense and that couldn't possibly work. And then they just shut it back down again. And then the cycle perpetuates. But again, it's about timing. People find their way to their answers when they're ready. Why didn't I find those answers 2 years before? Why didn't I know about that before? Because I wasn't ready before. Because I was just go to the doctors will give me a pill and it will fix me. And no, it didn't. So I fixed myself.
Hmm. Well, there's a lot here. So what we do quite well on the show is we invite our listeners and viewers to go back and listen to this again. If this is, useful and inspirational information, pause it, take note on what inspires you, what could be most powerful. This conversation has gone in so many different directions, from keto to intermittent fasting to the five bodies to who we are as godlike creators, to connecting to our soul and our spirit, to commanding healing, to the subconscious mind and how it holds and stores emotion and other things. and a lot more than that. And as you listen to it, take a note and then sit with it. I mean, we've even heard the power of accessing the wisdom of the soul comes through stillness. So if you wanted to really deploy some of these tools and strategies, you could just listen to it again, pause it, and ask, where am I sitting in stillness? When in the next 30 days do I have time in silence? And then you get to apply these tools rather than it being educational or inspirational. It becomes transformational because you're actually implementing this into your life. I'm so excited to be having this conversation, and thank you for sharing some tools and strategies. Now, before I ask you the last question, I'd like to ask Julie, can you tell us, where does listeners, viewers go right now? I want to hear about your book and definitely your website, your YouTube, and whatever else would be useful to share at this point.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very kind. So I've got a YouTube channel called Julie Poole, which is predominantly tarot guidance, which a lot of people are not into. They're like, oh, that's just rubbish. But what I'm doing is I'm accessing, when I'm doing a reading for somebody personally, I don't use cards at all. I just talk to the soul. But when I'm doing a reading for the collective, and I tend to do them per star sign, Virgos and Aries and Taurus, but I'm basically tapping into the collective consciousness, saying, what is the energy? What is the guidance that can help these particular people that are watching me right now? And I tap into, decades of sort of therapy and, spiritual teaching to kind of bring forward a message that generally or always empowers, uplifts, and informs. So you can find me there. Try it out, even if tarot isn't for you. I've got a second channel, which is much smaller, called Manifesting 101, where I've put some of my old teachings that are law of attraction stuff on there. My website is juliepoolonline.com. And my books, my work has shifted over the last few years. In 2022, I was guided to write the first law of attraction book, and cover as many areas of life as I could. So health, happiness, relationships, disempowerment, and sort of show each one what it is, how it works, and what to do about it. And I've called it a sort of step-by-step roadmap. And that became a bestseller about 15 months later, which was amazing. I self-published these on Amazon. They're on print and Audible and Kindle. And then a year later, 18 months later, they said, right, do another one. And I say they, my higher self, my spiritual team, that particularly at that time in 2023, and it continues now, so many people struggling financially across the world. And there was parts of about aligning with wealth and success through that first book, but it was weaved in so many other different directions that they wanted me to just focus on that and say, show people how they can turn their finances around. I mean, 5 years ago, 6 years ago now, I was in significant debt in a rental, with very little. And I've been teaching this stuff for 20 years, but I was just on the break-even point. There was never much money. And I started like looking at my own life saying, right, we've got some mismatch here. The clients, they're so successful. That goes really well, but there's never any more. So I started applying everything I knew about the law of attraction to my finances. And here we are 6 years later. I'm in my dream home. I've got a mortgage, but a very hefty down payment, a nice car, lovely stuff. I've taught internationally. I've traveled, the things that I've wanted to do. Everything's turned around. So I took everything I knew from that and gave another step-by-step guide, a formula. I call this a formula to turn that around. And that's out there doing very well. Now, the third book in this series is coming out, which is about the spiritual side, because the questions keep coming. How do you do that? How do you connect with your angels or talk to God? Or how do you step into that power in your soul? So I took all of that knowledge. I taught spiritual development classes for about 15 years, and I put it all into this latest book. Now, this time it was different because my guidance from my higher self is, don't self-publish this. This needs to reach more. I've got a big following, but a proper publisher can get it out to many, many more people than I can. And so they said to me, it's time now. And so I just said, okay, we're going to send it out. So reached out to a few agents and said, this is who I am. I'm Julie Poole. I've been doing this a long time. I've had these 2 books that are doing very well, and I've got this 3rd one, and I got an agent within a couple of weeks. And this is now literally, as we record this, mid-October, publishing deal is imminent for this new book to go out. And I've had to agree, which isn't easy for a Virgo, to hand over the rights to the previous 2 books as well. You can have this as a series. Let's get it out. I want to see this in airports. I want to see this in supermarkets. I want to see this on shelves, because I want people to be able to know how they can turn their life around in every area: health, wealth, happiness, fulfillment. There is the most incredible life. But we've been taught it's for others, or we can't do it ourselves, or we're not worthy. I want to show you that you are, and you can, and this is how you do it.
Mm. Oh, love it. Last question for you before we wrap up. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here's the question. I want you now to imagine, Julie, that you are on the world stage. Every sentient being alive has gathered, watching, fully tuning in and present with you. Take a breath, and when you're ready, please share, what is your message to the world right now?
You are the most incredible being of light, of power, of wisdom, of knowledge. You have the most incredible connections, and you are always connected to all that is and to every other soul. You have created a memory veil of just how powerful you are. And in this time and through the next 5 to 7 years, that memory veil is thinning as you step into an awareness of your power and to absorb it into you rather than have it separate from you. We are going into oneness. Oneness has been growing exponentially and is now ready to open, where all the different paradigms collapse into oneness. Be one with yourself. Be one with who you are. Be one with who you will be, and becoming every hour of every day, and become one with all and everything that is love.
Oh, beautiful. And so it is. Thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, if this has been useful, share it far and wide. You never know how far sharing this to just 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, however many people can actually reach those individuals, change, and sometimes even save a life. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. This is Julie Poole.